Wanda started talking and stopped in the middle of her sentence. It wasn't on purpose. It was that Curtis, sitting in the recliner next to her in the living room, had picked up the remote and changed the channel to another game. Wanda had been telling him she had seen the upstairs neighbor, Miss Bernice, walking out with a big bag at lunchtime, and she was afraid Miss Bernice was moving out because the rent must have gone up again in the building. It was a short story. It was the story of somebody worried about her neighbor. Wanda had started telling it, wanting to hear Curtis agree or disagree, anything, say something. And Curtis, without turning to look at her, had changed the channel and put on the Phillies game. Wanda was left mid-sentence. It was sentence number 300-something she had started and left unfinished inside her own mouth that year. It was a Tuesday in June. The Philadelphia heat had come in that day stronger than usual. The standing fan in the living room was turning on number 3, a little crooked, making that sound that started getting to your head after about an hour. Wanda looked sideways at Curtis. Curtis had on his blue shorts, his white t-shirt unbuttoned at the chest, his can of Coors on the side table of his recliner, 3 days of stubble on his face. The Phillies game was in the bottom of the 6th. Curtis whistled at a play, said something to the TV, picked up his can, took a drink. He didn't turn to Wanda. He didn't finish hearing her sentence. He probably hadn't even caught the beginning of it. Wanda swallowed the half of the sentence that was still in her mouth. She closed her mouth. She went back to looking at the TV. She sat there, on the couch next to him, another hour in silence until the game ended. When it was over, Curtis got up, stretched, said he was going to take a shower, and went down the hall to the bedroom. Wanda stayed on the couch. Miss Bernice from upstairs could have been moving out with that bag, or she could have been carrying it for something else entirely. Wanda was going to have to find out by herself. It was with that one small finding that she realized, without yet knowing the right name for what she was realizing, that for many years, maybe all the years of the marriage, she had been talking to Curtis more wanting to be heard than wanting to say something, and that she was only now noticing it. Her name was Wanda. Wanda Lucille Jefferson, 55 years old. She had been a waitress for 27 years at Miss Ella's Kitchen, a soul food diner on Broad Street in North Philadelphia. She had retired a little over a year ago. Before she retired, she had a clear reason to leave the house every morning at 5:30 to catch the bus down to the diner. After retiring, that reason had gone away. Now she stayed home all day with Curtis. Curtis had retired 4 years before she did, on disability. After a back injury, he picked up driving a SEPTA bus and getting hit from behind by a pickup truck on Allegheny Avenue. Curtis lived off his disability check, did a little side work now and again when somebody on the block needed help moving furniture, but most of the time he stayed home in the recliner in the living room, watching TV. It was the life she had. It was the life she thought she had chosen at 24 years old, when she married Curtis at Mount Pisgah African Methodist Episcopal Church up on Diamond Street, back when he was driving a delivery truck for a bakery and she was working in the kitchen of a boarding house on the next block. They had met at the boarding house. Curtis delivered the bread. She poured the coffee. They got married 6 months later. They had 2 children. Jamal, today 35, lived up in Pittsburgh. Tasha, 32, married, lived out in Brooklyn. Both of them had left young. The house had emptied out to Wanda and Curtis, but that hadn't changed their life all that much. Wanda had worked the diner up until a year ago. Wanda had really only started staying home for real after she retired, and it was when she started staying home all day that she started noticing something that had always been true, but that she had managed not to see for as long as she had the diner. Wanda talked to Curtis all day. Curtis answered very little. When he answered, it was, I don't know, let it go. Wanda had learned to explain a lot to him. She had learned without realizing it over 30 years that if she told him too fast, he didn't hear. If she told him too short, he didn't follow. So she started telling everything with a lot of detail: who the person was, what street it was on, what it was about, why it mattered. And he still said, So she explained more. Curtis kept on the meme. She explained even more. One of those nights, without her having gone looking for the thought, without her having decided to think it, Wanda realized from up on the couch, with the standing fan turning crooked, that she had 31 years of explaining too much. And that maybe it wasn't because Curtis had stopped listening. Maybe it was because she had started saying too much. If you're here today, listening to this story, it's because you know a woman like Wanda too. Or maybe that woman is you. This space was made for the woman who says the same thing 3 times in her own house, and on the third one still feels like she wasn't heard, who shares something important and gets in return, who learned to explain everything even when nobody asked her to. If you haven't tapped that subscribe button yet, stay with me a little longer. This woman still has plenty to say. The days that followed were strange days. Wanda started hearing herself talk. It was a thing she didn't do before. Before she just talked. Now she talked and listened to herself at the same time. And what she was hearing coming out of her own mouth were sentences that had started simple and had turned complicated halfway through, because she had folded in 3 explanations before getting to the period. Sentences like, I think, it's just that since today is Tuesday and Jamal didn't call yesterday, I was thinking I'd call him now because tomorrow I can't with the doctor appointment. So I was thinking I'd call him now, before lunch, so it doesn't bother him later. The original sentence was, I'm going to call Jamal now. Wanda looked at the living room wall after hearing the long sentence come out of her own mouth. Curtis had answered, Wanda had kept on holding the phone. She had 31 years of explaining like a kitchen, like a sun, like an electric bill, before asking for anything or saying anything. That Thursday morning, Wanda went to the ShopRite on Brown Street to do the monthly grocery run. She brought her canvas tote bag, brought the list written on the back of her recipe notebook, brought her debit card from PNC. She nodded at the 2 women in the meat department. She moved slow. Rice, beans, oil, laundry detergent, sugar, coffee, 3 kinds of meat, chicken, fish, milk, butter, sandwich bread. The battery on her phone was draining fast that morning. When she got to the registers, the line was long. Wanda got in the line at register 5, all the way in the back, where there was an older woman sitting, with long, dark hair pulled back in a bun, glasses sliding down her nose, blue shirt with the store uniform on it. The woman's name was Rosalie. Wanda saw the name on the badge. She was a black Caribbean woman from down in Trinidad who had come to Philadelphia almost 30 years ago when her husband had got work in maintenance at a Temple University facility. Wanda had never talked to her before, even though she had been coming to that ShopRite once a month for 8 years. Rosalie rang up the groceries slowly, talking a little with every customer. Wanda heard her talking with the woman in front about the heat. When it came to Wanda's turn, Rosalie looked at her with those calm eyes of a woman who was in no rush. Wanda started pulling the groceries out of the cart. Her thinking was still back on what had happened in the living room on Tuesday. She pulled out a bag of rice, another one. She looked at Rosalie. She apologized for a bag that fell. Rosalie said it was all right. Rosalie rang things across the scanner without rushing, noting the prices, checking. When she rang up the can of coffee with no clear reason, Rosalie looked at Wanda over her sliding glasses and asked her in a calm voice if Wanda was all right. Said she looked tired. Wanda didn't answer right away. It was a question she wasn't ready to answer from the ShopRite register. She thought about saying she was fine. That was what she always said. But something about the way Rosalie had asked didn't ask for the usual answer. Wanda said, quiet, that she was tired. Rosalie rang up the bag of beans, marked the price, looked at Wanda again. No rush. There's women who talk loud their whole lives, baby. And there's women who learn to talk quiet and finally get heard. That was it. Rosalie kept ringing up the groceries. Wanda stood on the other side of the register with the empty canvas tote waiting to be filled with groceries. She paid with the card. Rosalie handed her the receipt. Wanda walked out of the ShopRite with the 2 heavy bags, one in each hand, and caught the bus back up Broad Street. She sat at the window. She watched the traffic of North Broad pass by. The words stayed. There's women who talk loud their whole lives. And there's women who learn to talk quiet and finally get heard. The words stayed on the walk home. They stayed while she went up the stoop of the row house. They stayed while she put the key in the door. Curtis was in the recliner like always, watching an afternoon news program. Wanda walked in, said hello. He answered, She went to the kitchen to put the groceries away. It took her 35 minutes. When she was done, she washed her hands, went to the living room. She sat down on the couch next to Curtis's recliner. She didn't say anything. Curtis didn't notice. The news program kept going. Wanda stayed on the couch in silence for about 40 minutes. When it started to get dark out and the news program switched over to the evening news, Curtis turned to her and asked with the face of a man who had only just remembered she existed if she had put the beans on to soak for tomorrow. Wanda answered yes. Curtis said, went back to the TV. Wanda stayed on the couch. She didn't say anything. She didn't explain that she had put the beans to soak as soon as she got home, before putting the rest of the groceries away, because that was her habit. Before, she would have explained. That day, she didn't. That night, lying on her back in the bed, with Curtis already snoring next to her, Wanda stayed looking at the ceiling. Rosalie's words wouldn't go away. There's women who learn to talk quiet and finally get heard. Wanda didn't know yet what that meant for her exactly, but she knew there was something there, something she had been feeling for a long time, without knowing how to name it. She fell asleep around 2 in the morning. The next day, Wanda did something she hadn't planned. It wasn't big. It wasn't about the marriage. It was about a grocery run. Curtis, in the middle of breakfast, asked her if she had bought the brand of coffee he liked. Wanda answered no. She had forgotten. Before, she would have explained. She would have said she had seen another coffee that was on sale and that she had thought about saving a couple dollars and that she was going to go back to the ShopRite the next week and that he could drink the coffee that was in the cabinet for now. 5 sentences. That morning, she just said, I forgot. I'll go Monday. And she stayed silent. Curtis looked at her. For 2 seconds, he didn't answer. Then he said, all right, no big deal. He went back to his coffee. He didn't get upset. He didn't complain. Wanda looked at him from across the kitchen table. It was a small thing. But it was the first time in many years Curtis had answered a whole sentence of hers with a whole sentence of his, without her having explained anything. The days that followed, Wanda was trying things. It wasn't to prove anything to anyone. It was to understand. When he asked her something, she answered in 1 sentence. When he had the TV up loud, she didn't compete with the TV. She waited for a commercial. When she wanted to tell him something he had tuned out from, she stopped in the middle. She didn't finish. She didn't fight. She just stopped. Curtis started noticing. He didn't say anything right away, but he started asking about something she had started telling him, and stopped. He asked about Miss Bernice from upstairs, without Wanda having brought her up again. He asked if she had talked to Jamal up in Pittsburgh, without Wanda having mentioned Jamal that day. Wanda answered in a few words. Curtis listened. Sometimes he turned the TV down. Sometimes he didn't. A whole lot slower than Wanda would have imagined it. The house started having a different kind of quiet to it. It wasn't the quiet of nobody being there. It was the quiet of 2 people who had started listening to what the other one said, instead of competing to be the one talking. One Saturday afternoon, 3 months after that day at the ShopRite, Curtis was in his recliner watching a documentary about fishermen on the Chesapeake Bay. Wanda was on the couch flipping through an old magazine. Curtis, out of nothing, asked her, without even turning to her, if she wanted to drive over to Atlantic City for the weekend. They hadn't been to anything like that together in 10 years. Wanda looked at him. For 1 second she didn't know what to say. Then she just said, "Let's go." Curtis nodded. He didn't say any more. He went back to the documentary, but he had asked. It was that night, lying on her back in bed with Curtis next to her, that Wanda opened the drawer of her nightstand. She pulled out the small leather Bible that had belonged to her mama. The Bible had a photo tucked between the pages of the 35th Psalm. It was a photo of her at 20 years old, laughing at her engagement party with Curtis before the wedding. Wanda had put that photo in the Bible a couple years after they got married without quite knowing why. She had forgotten she had put it there. She had come across it again 2 years after retiring. On a day, she had picked up the Bible to show Tasha her grandmother's favorite psalm. Wanda took the photo out of the Bible. She looked at the 20-year-old girl she had been. The girl had her mouth open in the middle of a laugh. She was laughing with her head thrown back a little. It was the kind of laugh of a woman who still thought she was going to say things and be heard. Wanda couldn't remember the last time she had laughed like that, not because she had told herself not to, because she had slowly stopped doing it. There's women who find out, late, that it wasn't their silence that had been heavy. It was the explanation nobody had asked for. Wanda put the photo back in the Bible, but not on the 35th Psalm page. She put it on the inside cover, held in place by the elastic of the cover, where she would see it every time she opened the book. The months that followed the house slowly changed. Curtis turned the TV down when she talked. Not always, but more than before. Wanda didn't fight with the TV. She waited. When she wanted to say something important, she said one sentence, then another. She didn't pile up 5 before he had answered the first one. The children called, and Wanda told them about the house in a way she hadn't told them before. Tasha commented on the phone one Sunday, with her voice more curious than usual, that she had noticed something new in her mama's voice. Wanda couldn't explain to Tasha what had changed. She just said she was all right. Almost a year after that Thursday at Register 5 at the ShopRite, Wanda went to do the monthly grocery run again. She brought her canvas tote, brought her list, brought her card. She filled the cart slow. She went to the line at Register 5. Rosalie was there with the same bun, the same sliding glasses, the same blue shirt. Wanda got in the line. She waited her turn. When she got to the register, she said hello to Rosalie with a smile. Rosalie smiled back. She rang up the groceries. Wanda let the silence carry. When the last thing got rung up, Wanda paid with the card, thanked her, and before walking off, she said to Rosalie, quiet, in the steady voice she had at 20 years old in the photo from the Bible, "I learned." Rosalie looked at her over the sliding glasses. She smiled. She just said, "I saw." Wanda walked out of the ShopRite with the 2 heavy bags. She caught the bus. When she got home, she put the groceries away, went to the living room, sat on the couch next to Curtis's recliner. Curtis was watching a travel show. When she sat down, he turned the TV down. He asked her if she had found the coffee he liked. Wanda said yes. Curtis nodded. He said thank you. He turned the TV back up. Wanda stayed on the couch. It wasn't everything, but it was a whole lot more than what she would have imagined fit inside a 32-year marriage. It was a Wednesday morning at the ShopRite. 2 months after that day, Wanda had said, "I learned" to Rosalie. That Wanda saw in the line at Register 3, a woman younger than her, maybe 45, flowered dress, worn-out sandals, hair pulled back in a low bun. The woman was with her husband. The husband was looking at his phone the whole time. The woman tried to say something to him twice. He answered, The 3rd time she explained, more and more and more. The husband kept on his phone. Wanda watched her from far off, from Rosalie's line at Register 5, her cart almost finished. She recognized the face. It wasn't her own face, but it was family. She paid with the card, thanked Rosalie, and instead of leaving, she took a walk close to Register 3. She waited for the woman to finish paying. When the couple stepped out, she followed them across the parking lot. The husband went to get the car. The woman stayed standing next to the groceries, waiting. Wanda walked over. She said hello. She apologized for coming up like that. She said she had seen her in the line and she wanted to ask her something. The woman's name was Denise, 52 years old, retired home health aide for 8 months, married to Reggie for 29 years. Wanda explained in a few words. She talked about Rosalie. She talked about the words. She said she had 31 years of trying to be heard at home. She said she had spent those years explaining too much. She said she had learned at a grocery checkout something she hadn't learned in 3 decades of marriage. That a woman is not always more heard when she talks more. Sometimes it's the opposite. Denise listened in silence. She looked at Wanda with the face of a woman who had heard something she had started thinking on her own, but hadn't been able to put into words yet. Reggie came up with the car. Denise said to Wanda, with her voice lower, in a hurry because her husband was waiting, that she had heard her, that she was going to try to stop explaining so much, that maybe it was time. Denise got into the car. Wanda watched her drive off. She walked back to the bus stop. She caught the bus. When she got home, Curtis was in the recliner like always. He looked at her when she came in. He asked her if she had got everything on the list. Wanda said yes. Curtis turned the TV down. Wanda sat down on the couch next to him. For the first time in a long time, she didn't have anything to tell him. She didn't need to. They both stayed there, with the standing fan turning crooked, with the ball game on the TV low, in silence. But it was a silence that had changed nature. It wasn't the silence she had started staying inside of a year ago. It was a silence that held them both without needing any explanation. There's women who learn, after many years, that their voice hadn't gone away. It had been smothered by all the words they thought they needed to say to be heard. If you made it all the way here, listening to this story, I want to ask you one thing. Comment down below, day 1, and tell me what you're going to do today, just for you. It can be small. It can be saying one short sentence instead of 5. It can be staying quiet and seeing if anyone asks. It can be pulling out a photo of yourself from before and looking at it in the mirror. I want to read every comment that comes through, every single one, no exceptions. And if this story made you think of some woman, send her this video. Your sister, your mama, your friend from work. The woman who repeats herself 3 times at home and on the 3rd still feels like she wasn't heard. Send it to her. She'll understand why. If you haven't subscribed to this channel yet, stay with us a little longer. This is a space made for the woman who has lived, who is still living, who is tired of trying to do it all right by herself. Hit that little bell so you don't miss the next videos, and take care of yourself, baby. We'll see each other in the next story.